Alright guys, in this video we'll be looking at factoring using the sum and difference of cubes. First one we're going to look at is the sum of cubes. And the rule says that a cubed plus b cubed is going to equal the binomial a plus b times the trinomial a squared minus ab plus b squared. Alright, so let's see how this works with example number 1. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take the cube root of each of our terms. So we're going to take the cube root of 27. Cube root of 27 would be 3, and that's because 3 times 3 times 3 would give us a 27. We're also going to take the cube root of m to the third, which would be m. Again, that's because m times m times m would give us m to the third. Now we're going to take the cube root of 64, and the cube root of 64 is 4. Again, that's because 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. Now that I've taken the cube roots of each of our terms, we're going to put a plus sign, put it in parentheses, and I now have my binomial. So I've got this part right here. So now what we need to do is find the trinomial. And to get the trinomial, we're going to have to use the binomial. So the first part of the trinomial says we need to take whatever a is and square it. So in this case, the a is our 3m. So we're going to square that 3m. Or another way of saying that is multiplying 3m times another 3m. 3m times 3m would give us a 9m squared. Next we're going to put a minus. That'll always be a minus because that's what the rule says right here. We're going to have opposite of whatever we have in our binomial. Now to get the middle term, it says that we're going to multiply a times b. Our a is the 3m, our b is the 4. So we're going to multiply those two together. 3m times 4 would give us a 12m. And finally, to get the last term of that trinomial, it says we're going to take b and square it. So in this case, our b is 4. So if I square that 4, I end up with a 16. Therefore, the factors of 27m to the third plus 64 would be 3m plus 4, that's the binomial, times 9m squared minus 12m plus 16. That's the trinomial. Alright, let's try that again with example number 2. First thing we want to do is take the cube root of each one of our terms. So the cube root of 125 would be a 5. Cube root of u to the third would be u. And the cube root of 8 would be a 2. So I've now taken the cube root of each of these terms. I'm going to put a plus sign between those and put it in parentheses. So I now have my binomial. Now I need the trinomial. To get the first term of your trinomial, you're going to take your a, which in our case is that 5u, and we're going to square it. So 5u times another 5u would give us a 25u squared. We're going to need a minus here. To get the middle term, we're going to have to multiply a times b. A is that 5u, b is the 2. So if I multiply those two together, 5u times 2 is going to give us a 10u. And finally, to get that last term of the trinomial, we're going to take b and square it. The b for us is a 2, and a 2 squared would give us a 4. Therefore, these are the factors, 5u plus 2 and 25u squared minus 10u plus 4. Alright, now let's take a look at the difference of cubes. And what we're going to find is the difference of cubes is very similar to the sum of cubes. So let's start by taking a look at the rule. It says that a cubed minus b cubed is going to equal the binomial a minus b times the binomial or the trinomial a squared plus ab plus b squared. I want to point out the only difference are these two signs right here. That is now a minus and that is now a plus. So all the process that we're going to go through is going to be the same as we did with the sum of cubes. So we're still going to start by taking the cube root of each term. So let's go ahead and do that with example number 3. The cube root of 27, that's a 3. The cube root of m to the third is m. And the cube root of 64 is 4. So I'm still taking the cube root. But rather than putting a minus in our binomial, or a plus sign, now we're going to put a minus. Alright, so now we have our binomial. Now we need to get the trinomial. And we're going to do it the same way we did with the sum of cubes. We're going to start by taking a, that's the 3m, and we're going to square it. So 3m times another 3m is a 9m squared. We're now going to need a plus sign rather than the minus sign because we're dealing with the difference of cubes now. To get the middle term, we're still going to multiply a times b. A is the 3m, b is our 4. If I multiply those two together, I get the 12m. And to get our last term, we're still going to need to take b and square it. So we're still going to take that 4 and square it, which is going to give us a 16. Therefore, the factors of 27m to the third minus 64 would be 3m minus 4 times 9m squared plus 12m plus 16. Alright, let's try one more, number 4. Still got to start by taking the cube root of each term. So I'm going to start by taking the cube root of 125, which is 5. Take the cube root of u to the third, which is u. And take the cube root of 8, which is a 2. Since I'm dealing with the difference of cubes, I'm going to put a minus sign here, put it in parentheses. You now have your binomial, that's one of your factors. Now we need to find the other factor. That second factor is going to be a trinomial. To get the first term of our trinomial, we're going to take a, which is a 5u, and we're going to square it. So 5u times another 5u would give us a 25u squared. Remember, we're going to need a plus sign here. They need to be opposites of each other. To get the middle term, we're taking a and b and multiplying it together. A is the 5u, b is the 2. So if I multiply those two together, I end up with a 10u. And finally, to get that last term in the trinomial, you're taking b, which is 2, and squaring it. So 2 squared is going to give us a 4. Therefore, these are the two factors, 5u minus 2 and 25u squared plus 10u plus 4. Again, this is called the sum and difference of cubes.